It's there it was. I just heard the recording go off. So now I'll say it again. Good morning, everybody. So glad to have you guys with us here. As Kim mentioned in our little prep that didn't get recorded, this is the last buyer user group meeting before we go live on November 1st. We need to talk internally about when we're going to hold our next buyer user group meeting. We're going to be very, very focused in a division-wide focus, and we'll get to this in a minute, on supporting all of you, including our supplier community, for the first couple of weeks. I mean, it's an all-hands effort, what we're doing here division-wide, and really some help across the Department of General Services as well. So lots of folks going to be involved with support. So we got to kind of determine when it's going to make sense to hold our next user group meeting. But certainly, I would imagine we'll get something booked in November and even in December, just to kind of maybe give everybody an update on where we're at, how things are going, and stuff like that. So we'll make some determinations on that and get you a schedule soon. We're going to be very focused today with the presentation portion on kind of what to expect on day one, support, kind of a high-level overview of that. It's not rocket science for you guys, how you're going to get things over to us if you need help. And then just a little bit of wrap up at the end. Some of it's a repeat of potentially what you heard last month in September. I will tell you, though, I'm not going to repeat some of the conversion overview and what we're doing and how we're dealing with your data. If you didn't get a chance to see last month's user group, which was really conversion focused, Kim has that posted out in the buyer user group area of the Eva homepage. She also emails the user group members to tell you when the video's up. But please go over, you can watch that. It's about an hour long, give or take, to kind of get you updated on things that are happening to you, what we're doing with the data, what we're doing with Eva when we do the conversion and move those transactions and move that data and cut you guys over into the new platform that we're really excited to be launching. So again, go check out that September one. We're not going to repeat that information today. Again, we're going to be focused on some day one stuff, as well as some support, answer, how do I get help once you go live? And it's not a whole lot of slides. And then, as Kim mentioned, we'll open things up for questions and answers. And bear with me just a moment there, putting something on do not disturb, because I just heard it ding. I don't know if we got picked up by the microphone or not. So making sure I don't have any distractions or anything like that here as we get going. So let's dig in here on Thursday, October 13th. Here's our agenda, little project update. Pretty common things you guys have seen over and over again with dates and stuff like that. Then we're going to kind of shift gears, what to expect on day one, support, get help, how to do that. Going to do a little review of our training resources. We feel like those still have a ton of value for you guys. Some wrap up and tips. You might have seen some of these wrap up and tips before, but always worth repeating. And then opening it up and answering your questions. And I really appreciate Barb Lehman, Lisa Kirby being here with me as we'll kind of tag team the questions when we get to that point. So much appreciated that they're always so willing to join us for these user group meetings. Moving into the project update, kind of get us going here again. If you've been to a user group over the past couple months, you've seen these dates again and again and again and again. But we just want to keep getting them in front of you and kind of telling you where we are. October 1st, that deadline has passed. Pausing reference data updates, that's addresses, account allocations, workflow users, things like that. We really hope that has stopped for you guys. Now, again, we're handling emergencies and doing some stuff like that, but really trying to limit those updates because a lot of the reference data, we start to pick up those items and move them into the production environment. The production environment, if you were wondering, has been stood up for a while. It's actually, the environment we're going to be moving to you guys is kind of, quite honestly, behind the scenes, sitting there ready to go. And over the next several weeks, even before the November 1st date, a lot of that work is going on to get things loaded into that environment. So that's why the reference date update pause, and we are past that deadline. Tomorrow, electronic responses for sealed procurements will be disabled. And also, some of you may have noticed, if you've issued a solicitation, pretty much, I think after September 29th, somewhere in there, the electronic response option for you was disabled, even going back before October 14th. Well, all that stuff is really shutting down now, and that kicks in tomorrow. And again, if you haven't heard this before, the reason we're doing that, we don't want to put procurements at risk. We're not able to move, particularly sealed responses. We're not able to move those sealed responses from one system to another system without opening them. And that puts a procurement at risk, and we just don't want to do that. So this is short-lived. It's temporary. Once we come back up November 1st, electronic response is going to be there. For those of you that have solicitations that are converting, and again, go check out the September user group for a discussion on conversion. There's also some great Q&A that we answered all those questions from September that is linked out there as well. But for those of you with solicitations that are converting, you will have the opportunity. You could do an amendment in the new environment on November 1st and re-enable electronic responses if you'd like to. So that's an option that you have if you happen to have a solicitation that's converting over. So again, it's short-lived to get us through this very brief period of time as we switch our platforms. Some more key dates and some preparation. Now, these are suggestions, right? So starting tomorrow, again, we get it. You've got still a couple more weeks. I'm going to get to that slide in a minute. It's October 26th, which is a Wednesday at 5 p.m. We're going to take the old Eva environment away. But you guys really need to be thinking now about finalizing any quick quotes you have, finalizing your contract record updates, really taking into consideration any new contracts or updates to existing contracts. Maybe you just want to document those and do them post cutover. These are things you need to be taking into consideration right now. Can you hold off for a few weeks? Can you delay on some of that stuff? Get everything else you can finalized, right? Get it wrapped up. So this is the time to really be thinking about that. So always good to stress that. Another note for October 14th, we are temporarily pausing account maintenance for our supplier community. And that restricts it on the supplier side. If you hadn't heard us say this before, or if you didn't know, our tenet of the Eva program is that the supplier maintains their account. That's the whole concept. Supplier is responsible for their maintenance. We are temporarily pausing that for a few weeks. It'll be back November 1st. Again, if there's an emergency, something just has to be updated to get a procurement out the door on the supplier side, that can be turned into Eva customer care, and our Eva vendor support team will handle those updates. But again, we're thinking really, very critical, serious updates that need to be made. We'd really like to start here over the next couple of weeks, limiting our updates to this reference data, including our suppliers, so we can make this big lift and shift into the new platform. The week of October 24th, about 2.5 days, or 3 days, 2 days, whatever you want to call it, before we shut down the Eva system, we're not going to be doing any more registrations either for suppliers. So, the supplier, if they're coming in that week, they need to register. They're just going to need to wait till November 1st to get in there and do that registration. We're going to talk about some what to expect on day one things, and supplier's going to be there. We're going to talk about supplier. And again, hit on this date a couple times, but always worth repeating. October 26th, 5 p.m. conversion cutover begins. That's when the existing environment, it'll be down. It's going to go away. We'll have it for several days. And then on Tuesday, November 1st, that morning, Eva system will be up and live on November 1st. So yay, we're very excited. All right, let's shift gears ever so slightly and talk about what should I be expecting on day one? What should I be expecting? What to expect on day one? Your core procurement functionality is going to be available. Okay. Now, again, some of you may work for an organization, an agency, a university, a local government, whatever, that wants you to not do anything those first couple of days. You need to listen to your leadership. Some of you might be leaders on here who are making these decisions. You might do your own self-imposed blackout periods, or you want to do a slow rollout across your user base. So be tuned in for that. But in the grand scheme of things, from what we're delivering to you, what the Eva program and what DGS is delivering to you is your core procurement functionality: requisitioning, catalog shopping, purchase order creation and delivery, receiving, sourcing at all dollar levels with public posting, and contract management. So really focused in on those, those core functions are going to be there for you. I just mentioned earlier the supplier part. Suppliers are going to have registration, account maintenance, email notices of business opportunities, and the ability to do electronic response to your sourcing opportunities that you have out there. Now, again, if you had a sourcing opportunity convert, you may need to go in, do an amendment, and reinitialize electronic responses if you want to do that. Certainly, all new sourcing activities, electronic response is the default for those. So some things to consider and look at. But in the grand scheme of things, at a high level overview, all your core functions are going to be there, rocking and rolling, ready to go on day one. Some good news: user IDs and passwords, there's no changes. We're able to lift and shift those. The information's converting from existing Eva. This includes both our buyer and supplier users. For those of you, there's we call it, you'll hear a lot of different names for it, single sign-on federated identity management. Basically the ability, because you're on a secure network, to sign into Eva using your secure network credentials. That should all be up and running as well. Your ability to do single sign-on, just like you do today, if you have that. So if you have that feature today in production, the concept is that feature will be available for you on day one as well. So that's good news. You'll be able to get in, hopefully relatively easy. Password reset will be working as well. Or if you've forgotten your password or anything like that, you can go in and do that as well. That last bullet point on this page, there are no changes to the Eva Fee Schedule. That's great to be able to do an upgrade of this nature. If you weren't aware, we use a fee-based model to pay for this. We're not general funded. But no changes to that schedule. It's just, it's exactly the same. What we have today is what it's going to be on November 1st. So no changes there. Some other day one things: reporting. Now, I hedged a little bit. You'll notice that the old term most save reports, schedule reports, and favorites should be there. There is a communication coming soon to you guys. You guys should receive that. We'll also make sure that gets posted over in the transition newsroom about how reports are impacted, what's going to be there, what's not, and some things like that. But in the grand scheme of things, especially when you're talking about procurement transactions, requisitions, purchase orders, supplier information, things like that, those reports are going to be available. And there's also, that gives you the ability for historical data, anything that's not going to convert but lives in our data warehouse, things that you did 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. That historical data for analytics and metrics is going to be in the data warehouse as well, and your ability to report on that. So you'll have a lot of those available day one. We'll continue to flesh out our reporting function, from day one going forward as we add new reports, maybe gin up and bring in some reports that might currently be missing. But again, there's a communication going out for that to kind of give you, it's Anna Coy off of our team here has done a really nice job kind of putting together a nice matrix for you. So you'll have an idea of what to expect from a reporting perspective. So look for that. Training, what to expect. Training is going to be there, guys. It's available post go live. This training program wasn't set up just to get you ready for transition. It's going to be there to support you going forward. So all the self-paced training programs will remain available in the DPS LMS. I'm gonna dig into training just a little bit more in a couple slides. But again, virtual instructor-led training, we're going to be ginning that up as well. Certainly, we'll be doing some instructor-led training in November and December, particularly as we identify needs in areas where we need some instructor-led training. And then you should look in the not too distant future for the 2023 schedule to come out for instructor-led training. And that'll be rolled into all of the DPS training we do. So our VCA program, VCO program, VCM program, the VCARM program, and Eva training. You'll see that bundled on a big calendar and all just kind of rolled into how DPS does training. So we're very excited about that. But training is going to be there. Again, I think that's important for you guys as you're getting used to the system, the new platform, but also as you hire new staff or as you have staff take on additional roles within your organization. Maybe you have somebody that only does requisitioning and they promote or grow into being able to do quick quotes or even more complex sourcing than quick quotes. You have learning journeys available to you to get that staff trained and get them the basics of these tools as they grow in their use of Eva. So very excited about that. And then go live support. We are going to be, Eva customer care is obviously still here, but we do have something we're going to want you guys to do to get issues to us. There's going to be a web form that we're going to make available for you guys to report issues to us. And I'm going to get into those details in just a second. And then we are planning, as we find issues, as we enhance and update the Eva system, publicly posting those updates and enhancements. So you'll have a place to go to see what's going on, when things are coming into the system. And we're expecting those first couple of weeks, you might see weekly updates, for things that are coming into Eva as issues are identified, as you guys find things that we're going to correct for you. And I really feel like going forward, not only through this user group meeting, if we get back to a more standard user group, we tended to talk about enhancements and updates and do demos and things like that. I hope to take the user group back to that, where we're not transition, but we're really focused on these are the new things that have come in. These are the things that we fixed. Let me go show you. We'll really get back to doing that as part of the user group, but also, making those updates and enhancements publicly available so you can get a feel for what's going on. So we're excited about that. So those are some of the day one expectations. Let's dig into support and getting help. Support and getting help. I hope you've noticed. If you haven't, you can go there now. If you go to eva.virginia.gov, this is just a screenshot of our lovely homepage. And I've got arrows in several places here. We have put up, thank you to Dave Foster, our nice little graphic there. Eva's new platform coming November 1st, buyer and supplier help. And right now it says coming soon. But support, information, advice, problem solving, help, solution, right? That's what we want to do for you. You're going to see that graphic when we go live. So that morning of November 1st, coming soon is going to turn into click here. And then you're going to be driven and it's going to say, who are you? Are you in the buying community? You have a question about making a purchase, or are you a supplier? And then we're going to drive you to a form. You're going to fill that form out for us, provide all the details you can provide about the issue you have, including you can put screenshots and things like that, and you'll submit that to us. And then I'm going to get into the details about how we're going to handle that in just a sec. All right. But we're making this easy for you to get to. So if you click right below the logins where it says get help customer care, if you click there, you'll see the entryway to get your issues reported. We're going to have this scroller up with that pretty graphic that Dave made for us, and it'll be clickable. So click here to get help, and you'll be able to click that. You'll also be able to go to the transition newsroom, and at the top, we'll have an entryway to that form as well. So we're trying to make this as easy for you as possible and centralized. All right, centralizing it for you. You got an issue, come to eva.virginia.gov, get that information keyed in, and get it submitted to us. All right. So a little bit more detail about that, the process itself, right? So I mentioned the web form. We're really trying to centralize our issue collection for all users. All right. We're really trying to centralize things. Now, I know you guys, you're used to calling customer care, potentially, maybe sending customer care an email, maybe reaching out to your account executive, or for those of you that know, maybe reaching out to somebody on the Eva team or a statewide contract officer or whoever you know at DPS, right? You're reaching out to them directly to get help. We really, really, really want you to drive to these forums. We're going to be asking our staff to put on some messages and some things, and really remind you guys, if you reach out to them, to go and make sure things are collected via the form. Okay, there is one exception to that. Eva Customer Care will be taking live calls for suppliers responding to open solicitations. So a supplier, there's a business opportunity out there on our public posting in Eva, and that supplier is having a problem responding, they're going to be able to call customer care, and they're going to get a hot pickup on that, right? To help that supplier through. That's all about us protecting our procurements. Now, our plan is, after several weeks of this initial rush and the go live component of this and the new platform, is that we would begin to de-escalate our support, where customer care would begin handling everything like they currently do. And you may be able to reach out directly to your AE and all that fun stuff. And, we're trying and we want to get back to business as normal as quickly as possible. As you and your staff get comfortable with the new platform. But again, for this initial couple of weeks here, when everybody's just getting used to stuff, and we need to prioritize and make sure that we're dealing with issues that have the most impact to the broadest amount of users, we really want to centralize that issue collection. Again, outside of your suppliers needing help with a time-sensitive response to an electronic procurement. We're going to take those live still, okay? Support teams, we've broken up, and I kind of touched on this, but it's worth repeating. This is an all-hands effort across the entire division. Some of you might know, staff, friends, whoever here at DPS, we're all going into support mode on 11/1. I don't care what your role is. If you're a contract officer, account executive, administrative assistant, me, director of Eva Barb, director of policy consulting and review, we're going into support mode. It's an all hands effort. We've built teams to support the different areas across Eva. And we've got it, categorized by topic and function. So if you submit something, a supplier, there's a team that's supporting suppliers. There's a team that's supporting requisitioning and ordering. There's a team that's supporting login. There's a team that's supporting like entity setup. There's a team that's supporting contracts and contract management. There's a team that's supporting sourcing. So, I've given you kind of a high level look at that, but the idea is for you guys behind the scenes, there are folks dedicated to helping you depending on what your need is, okay? We're going to route those issues to the appropriate team, and we're going to work on them. We're going to handle them. You could get an email response back. They need to do a meeting with you, a phone call. We'll jump on Teams or Zoom and get you guys the help that you need. All sorts of methods for our guys to reach out to you and get you the help you're looking for. But again, that's what's kind of going on behind the scenes. If you take anything away from today, if you take anything away from today, this meeting that we have, is that if you need help, get to eva.virginia.gov, find the get help area, turn in your issue. Okay. If you take anything away from this, all right, that's what I really want you to know. And then behind the scenes, you know, again, all hands, everybody you can imagine at DPS in there, even Pete Stamps. We're here, we're there to support you. And that's our plan for this go live. If you're interested, our partner CGI, who you see occasionally, you know, Mark Orlando has been on these bug meetings in the past. You may have heard the name John Kappeler. CGI's got a team as well, and they're also going to be here with us in the Patrick Henry building in Richmond and virtual, depending on where the support's coming from, to help our teams support you. So a lot of resources being thrown at support from that perspective. All right, so that's support. Again, I'm gonna show it to you again. There it is. You can go to the Eva homepage right now and you can see the graphics. They're there. You're gonna come on 11.1 and it's just gonna switch to click here to get help instead of coming soon. All right, so we're prepped for all this stuff and ready to roll. All right, moving out of here. Let's talk training real quick. I think training has a lot of value still. We absolutely understand. You know, we've been pushing training hard. We want you guys to train. We want you guys to jump into these things. You have everybody in general, depending on how you've given access, but certainly people on this call, you should have access to the training environment, which is as close as we can get production-like environment that you guys can get in and dig in and do stuff in. But certainly once we remove old Eva, there is no more of our existing environment and we're on the new environment. Training, certainly you may still have needs there. You may want to, you know, send people through different training, or if they're struggling in a certain area, we may, you know, want you to make sure you've gone through and seen that training. So again, that whole concept of learning as a journey, it's not going away. It's going to be there. It's a resource for you and your staff. And just wanted to reinforce that stuff is there. In addition to, you know, the learning journeys and the instructor-led training, which is all great. You know, we've got our e-learning modules, the self-paced training modules, you know, based on a role. You can be very specific. I'm an approver, do quick quotes, requisitioner. You can be very specific about that. You've also got quick reference guides that are available. These are step-by-step instructions for the various transactions that you do, like almost like, you know, a desktop guide that you can have right next to you as you're doing those transactions to, you know, get you through that. So there's quick reference guides are available. Again, I mentioned the virtual instructor-led training. That's led by DPS. It's scheduled daily leading up to the November 1st go live. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll be doing instructor-led training, you know, in November, in December, and then the 2023 schedule coming out as well. And then that Eva training environment, it's a production-like Eva environment for training and practice. That even after we go live, these training resources, your ability to get into these certain areas, maybe grab a quick reference guide, are going to have a lot of value. All right, so just making sure you're aware that we're not doing anything to training. It's going to be there for you. Okay. So I'm almost at the end here of the presentation portion before we switch to questions. And I'll just jog over to some wrap up and tips. Just some things, the conversion, not only the roadmap, but if you missed September's user group meeting and you're curious about the conversion of transactions and data, please go view that presentation from last month, the recording of that. But the roadmap and key dates are available in the transition newsroom. They've been there for months and months and months. We've had to update them a couple times, but all that stuff's out there for you to go view. Make sure you're communicating these key dates with your users and suppliers. You know, one of the big ones, from October 26th at 5 p.m. till the morning of November 1st, there will be no Eva. When you go to eva.virginia.gov, you're going to get a page that basically says, hey, we're transitioning. We'll be back on November 1st. That's the page you're going to see. You're not even going to see some of the standard stuff on the Eva page. Servers are even moving for the Eva page. We're moving the Eva page. I mean, the whole 9 yards is a conversion. So plan for that. Plan for that. Be proactive. Plan and adjust your sourcing activities, contract activities. Your access, knowing your access to the system is going to be down. Communicate those dates with your users and suppliers. Make sure everybody is aware of what's going on and what's happening. But be proactive about that. Get out in front of it. Please, 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 as I mentioned before, leverage training and practice in the training environment. Here's a big one. Probably should have had that up with the reporting. We'd really, 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 really like you guys, to the best of your ability, to centralize your point of contact to report issues. If we have 2,000 people all reporting the same issue, certainly we're going to understand that the criticality of the issue when something like that happens to us. But we're going to have to spend some time grabbing those issues and closing them out and moving them around, just because we have 2,000 people reporting the exact same thing. So to the best of your ability, and I know a lot of you guys do this already, but to the best of your ability, as you identify issues, routing them through a central point of contact, routing them through the procurement office, whatever it may be. I think you'll find that, you and your staff, are likely going to learn more than we know and be able to help each other out, particularly if it's training related, or I don't know how to do X. Routing those and kind of centralizing those, you can get a feel for, ooh, wait a minute, I can just shoot an email back to this person and tell them how to do this versus sending it over to DPS for us to handle. So again, we understand that's not always possible for everybody, but certainly, something we would love to see if you guys could kind of, centralize your point of contact at your entity before you report those issues. So that is what I had this morning. We are very, very, very excited to shift and to kick this transition off. We know it's going to be new and exciting and fun, but we think it's, we've got a really, really, really great platform we're moving to, and excited to get everybody in there and get them comfortable, get you guys comfortable within that platform. So,
all right. Lots of Q&A. We've answered some, so those can be found under the answered tab for those that we were able to respond to while Shane was sharing out information. One of the questions that I think we want to go ahead and answer, and I will mark this as answering live. What time on November 1st are you planning to open Eva? So I think that that's a great question, because we just say November 1st, but 12:01 a.m. No.
it'll be, it'll be that morning, let's, to be fair, I would say, 7 a.m., something like that. You'll know, because if you try to hit the page, it's eva.virginia.gov. If it still has the "we're transitioning" message up, then you're not going to be able to get in. I'm guessing around 7-ish, 8-ish, somewhere in there. Could be earlier. But that's kind of what we're thinking timing wise.
Perfect.
So great question.
Let's roll right into the question. So for quick quote, will the Eva and DGS T's and C's be auto-filled like now in the new platform?
I'm going to take that one.
Go, Lisa.
You'll have to add your terms and conditions as an attachment. They're not automatically brought in as they are now, but you should be doing that now with your quick quotes anyways, especially if you're using special terms and conditions, because we only really populated it with general. So what would be new is you have to do both general and the special. Barb, did I get that correctly?
Concur with you, Lisa Kirby.
All right. So just so I remember, and this is coming from Sue, UAT sign-on, we were provided with a link to the UAT from she's with VCCS, and It said we could sign on using our current Eva logon, but it didn't work for her and a couple of her others in her office. What should she be doing different to log on?
Do you want me to take that one too?
Yes,
Go, Lisa.
please.
Yeah, knock them out.
So the UAT environment, the training environment, we've had several migrations of bugs and fixes that have come in over the last several months when we initially went in July. One of them was related to a setting that we had in the background that you may not see, where I don't want to overcomplicate it, but if you have an issue with your login, we do have a resolution for that. Get that list of users to your account executive, and we can go in and make sure that and we can resolve that. However, I can reassure everyone that the fix has gone in so that at go live, that issue that you're experiencing, it has been resolved in our current platform. So we can make sure that's right, but we just need the list of users and we'll make sure that you're set up and able to get in there.
Perfect.
Yeah, and if I could jump in, over in the chat, Stephanie Barton said, pointed out correctly that not everyone has access to UAT. So I told her we'd address that too. And so in the training environment, you will need your ID and you can reset your password, right? Did I get that right, Lisa?
Yeah, and you can use your email, your work
Your email.
email.
Right.
So
The email
it's
that's
your user
associated.
ID or your work email. It's both. So either one will do it.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that, Shane.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and that relates to another question related is, will the training environment be available to all users?
That's such a great question. The training environment is absolutely available to all users. You need to work through your entity. Messages went out to everybody, but at a leadership level, right? That the training environment was available. So if you are like, ooh, I didn't get that message, or I haven't been given access yet, I would ask through your entity, maybe up to your procurement office, and hey, can I get my hands on that? Because technically everybody has the ability to get access to that. So, that's just one thing. And also a really good question, or I'll add a clarification. Even though the production environment, so Eva, where you do real business, will be down, right? During the transition, so the 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, training in UAT will be available. So while Eva itself, you won't be able to do real ordering, soliciting, those two environments, depending on who you are and what you have access to, they're available to you. So you can do some training, you can get in there and play around. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and if you know that you have something that you're going to want to place an order for November 1st, go into the training environment and do a mock of it, right? Go through exactly what you want to do November 1st to make sure that you're comfortable with the steps. So it's a good way to get prepared. The next question, there's one in the queue about paper responses. So it's fairly lengthy and I'm not sure if we want to cover that one offline or not.
No. Let's cover it because it's a good one.
Okay, so they're asking that we're a paper response only entity and we are only using Eva to post and advertise our solicitations online to the public. I understand to create an RFX solicitation, how to do it. After the bids are due and the solicitation is closed, how do I get the status changed from closed to awarded? Do all the bidders need to register in Eva or only the awarded bidder? What if the awarded bidder is not yet registered in Eva? Can they do that after the solicitation closes? In order for me to change the status to awarded, I believe that I need to upload the paper response into Eva. Do I need to upload all the paper responses? And in order to have the capability to upload paper responses, do I need to click on the advanced options option of buyers can bid on behalf of suppliers? So lots of questions there. So tackle the first one, which is after the bids are due and the solicitation is closed, how do I get the status changed from closed to awarded?
You want me to take this one, Shane?
Lisa.
So first, I'm going to put in a plug in here that our sourcing training is being refreshed, and we'll have some great new resources out there too for you to take on the learning management system that will cover all of this information. Our team has worked really hard to tighten those up and improve those over the last several months, and our partners have worked on that and dedicated a lot of time and attention to help you. So LMS system. Take the trainings that we have for that and we'll walk you through it. But you do need to enter in the paper responses in order to award a solicitation, because the way that the system works is it doesn't know, it looks like it's just, you have to select the supplier to make the award in the new platform. So you do need to make sure that your supplier is registered in Eva. There's some policy type questions that I would encourage you to reach out to your account executive on, as far as should I enter all in or just the one. I encourage everybody, the more data, the better, because we do fantastic. Anna Coy, who is our data analysis expert on the Eva team, we do a lot of metrics for that. That's really helpful and powerful for your organization. So the more you put in, the more you get out of it. So I'm going to encourage you to enter them all in, but you have to, at a minimum, have that one supplier registered in Eva in order to enter that paper response to flag them as awarded at a minimum, but I obviously think that it's best for your procurement records. There's a lot of additional benefits by adding everything in, having a complete electronic file. I can get on a soapbox here. So I think I've gotten all the questions. And as far as the advanced options, that should be pre-selected for you anyways. And yes, you have to have that flagged in order to enter paper responses, but it should already be set up for you.
So there is one in there, Lisa, and I think I can answer this. Correct me if I'm wrong. What if the awarded bidder is not yet registered in Eva? Can they do that after the solicitation closes? Yes, but you cannot enter the paper responses unless the supplier, is registered.
Yeah,
You also can't award to that supplier unless they're registered, but you could have a solicitation close and then, oh geez, I'm looking at these responses. I've gotten the paper ones. This looks like the one we're going to award to. He's not registered. We need to get that individual, that company registered. So you can certainly do that.
And we've seen different entities put into that are maybe not state agencies, put in the term and condition. Again, reach out to your account executive about requiring registration to be awarded a contract. I think that's a good thing that you can do to be proactive, to prompt the supplier to register. There's also additional benefits for the supplier to register their contract. They can get access to that, the documents, the POs, all of the things that come with it too. So I think it's a good fair ask of that. And I think once you start exploring that more, you'll see the benefits, not only for your organization, but the suppliers you're working with too.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah, lots of answers there. So hopefully, that was a great question. So the next one is, will you please post the issues list so we can see that something is already being worked? And I know you touched on this during the hypercare plan. So just want to restate that.
Yep, we'll be doing that once we go into hypercare, for sure.
And where will that be posted?
On the Eva homepage somewhere. I don't think we've made that decision yet, but we'll make it easy for you to get to.
We'll make sure it's easy and prominent.
Correct. Correct.
The next question is, can you update us on how we attach a W-9 to state entered vendors? And I know that there is registration, or how to register a supplier training assets available.
Yeah, there's some coverage on that. The quick answer to that, without showing the screen, and this is a great question to send. Our hypercare teams are already built, by the way, and a great question to send to our hypercare teams so that they can also make sure they know how to answer this. It's a two-step process. So when you're doing a state entered vendor, and quite honestly, even for a self-registered vendor, if the supplier is doing the registration, you complete the first page of the registration and you hit submit. You commit that in. A left-hand menu will pop up after you do that. After you hit submit, it kind of commits the record. And then in that side, there's a documentation area, and you add the W-9 in the documentation area. But you've got to do the first page of registration first, submit it, and then you add in any attachment.
And there's a great training guide that's already available. So what I'm going to do, Michelle, is I'm going to type that into your answer, and then everybody will have the benefit of
Ah,
linking back to that PDF that's available
yes.
on
Thank you,
our
Kim.
website now for our buyer training. So make sure you're checking out those resources to see if there's any particular guides associated with topics that you want to dig into. We may already have resources out there without you having to go into the LMS itself.
Great.
All right, so I'm going to do that in just a moment. So let's go to the next question. And it says,
Excellent.
apologies if it's already been answered. That's okay. Ask your question again. We don't mind. Will users be able to post agendas to posted solicitations between 10/14 and go live?
Absolutely.
That was pretty easy. Thank you. So the
If you
answer-
have questions, reach out to your, and I know our AEs are working really hard on this too, but they're there to support you through this process, your procurement shop and your managers. There's resources, know before you post, on the Eva Transition homepage too, that we're adding out there. So if you have questions about that, there are some documented information that you can look at as well.
The next question is, does the create return process actually send a notice to the vendor or supplier? We're using that term interchangeably. Will we need to use this process when users accidentally receive all on an order and need to go back and unreceive the order? Editing the receipt itself does not seem possible. We wouldn't actually be returning anything, just using it to adjust the receiving, so we wouldn't want a notice to go to the vendor.
Oh, go ahead, Kim.
I was going to say this is covered in the training assets in P2P about receiving. And I'm on that hypercare team for receipts. So it is my understanding that yes, the supplier does get the notification that it's been adjusted. But if it's not a physical item, we can still adjust for services, if that makes sense. So they know that they're just building that back end, and that's where communication comes in also. But I don't know if you want to elaborate on that or not, Shane.
Well, no, I mean, you don't edit a receipt. You complete a receipt. If you need to make changes,
It's a
you do one more.
return. Yeah.
Yeah, you do a return. So yes, the return is your ability to, I ordered 10, I received 10. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I'm actually taking 5 back out. And I'm pretty sure there's some areas where you could do a comment to, you might even want to say, mistake was made on previous receipt. I've
Yep,
only
you can
accepted
add
5.
comments in there, and that's where it appears to be that negative there.
Yeah. And that's tied together. The suppliers have a lot more functionality on their end. If they choose to use it, they can send advance shipping notices and things like that when they see things are received, and share delivery dates with you. There's a lot more collaboration, between supplier and purchaser. And that's, their receipt process is tied to that. But absolutely using returns is how you would adjust if there was an issue. And I see the next question that Lisa wants to answer.
So she says that she's low man on the totem pole, so to speak. I order for a training department at Deerfield Correctional Complex. What training would be a good thing for me? A lot of what you have talked about today is kind of over my head. Fair enough. I'm fairly new to Eva, so welcome. I have done several orders, some punch out and non-catalog orders. So you're just our basic requisitioner, which, that you are in the majority, even though you may feel like you're not.
And there is
so we have
specific,
a pathway that's dedicated to you. It's called the requisitioner pathway. And if you're curious, if maybe you want to see if there's more that are relevant, if you go out to the training website off of the Eva transition page, it'll give you some more insight into each one. But I think based on what you explained, the requisitioner is going to be the best pathway for you. And that'll preset all of the courses that are relevant to that role for you, so you know exactly what you need to take.
And I am going to go ahead and put in a link to your answer that it's the requisitioner. It's pathway is what you're looking for, but this is our pathways. So you can find this on, again, the public information from the transition newsroom. It's buyer training. So there's several tabs. So this is pathways that will be on there. So I'll put that in typed response for you. And then under supporting documents, just so everybody's aware, supporting documents on this same section of the transition newsroom for our buyers specifically, there are several resource documents about P2P, which we call procure to pay. So one is P2P orders. And then there's also the receive and return for our previous question that got asked. So both of those resources may be something that if you're going to do it frequently, you want to print it and be able to reference it. And again, they're there off the transition newsroom for our buyer training assets. So I'll put both of those in those answers for you.
Thank you, Kim.
So the next question is, what type of document needs to be posted in sourcing and contracting if an open solicitation won't be wrapped up, therefore will be canceled or reissued after November 1st?
I defer to Barb. That's a policy type. I'm not to put you on the spot, but
So, no, I guess that's why I'm here, right? So I would say certainly you can, I am curious though about why you think it would need to be canceled and reissued.
Yeah, because
So I think first thing we need to talk about is the fact that if your solicitation is open, it's going to convert, right? So it'll convert into the new platform for you, and you will be able to access it and evaluate and do all the things that you need to do in the new platform. So just because it is open does not mean that you have to cancel and reissue. So I actually reached out to you, Jackie. I sent you a chat, and so hopefully we can certainly chat with you about that offline as well. If you need to cancel it, then by all means cancel it, right? But if you don't need to cancel it and it is just open, it will convert into a new platform.
Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. And the next one I'll take. So it's again about correcting receiving if it's submitted incorrectly. So one of the great things again is that we have these resources for you already, like user guides, if you will, just quick reference guides. And one of those is on receiving and returns. So I'm going to link that document in my response so everybody will have access to it. And you're going to look for create a return, which is B. What I encourage you to do, Casey and anybody else, is go into training and actually create an order and then go to receive it and then oops, and then create your return and go through that process so that hopefully you can get comfortable or ask questions ahead of us going live and feel very secure in what you're going to be doing when we are live in the new platform. So please cover the quick quote timeline once again. And that's on our important dates document. So I think that's what they're referencing is, what's happening starting tomorrow and moving forward.
well, I don't know
for
that
quick quote, it's until the 26th, but I think it's more
Yeah,
about
so
what's not
it's-
converting, and we want to encourage you to wrap it up that whole segment.
Yeah, so this isn't, I don't think anything is happening until October 26th at 5 p.m. But our encouragement, our guidance is to,
Our strong recommendation.
there you go, is to wrap up your quick quotes and to finalize them, to get them done. And
Yeah, I
by
think we-
finalizing, it's
Sorry,
not just,
Shane.
oh, go
Yeah.
ahead, Barb.
Sorry, little delay there. We had a question actually in the chat, and I've asked the account executive to reach out to that agency. But so I think the short answer to that question was yes, quick quote will be available to you until 5 p.m. on the 26th. However, if the quick quote is under evaluation, has not been awarded, it's not going to convert. If the purchase order that you generate as a result of your quick quote award has not gone fully through the cycle, right? So you just need to factor those things in. The information we have in the conversion roadmap is very detailed about quick quotes. So please check that out. It's in the transition newsroom from the main homepage. Check that out. And I'm sorry, the name escapes me at the moment. Your account executive, Gary Gordon, is going to reach out to you to walk you through those quick quote details.
Awesome. And thank you, Barb.
Yes, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a link or just a statement from our important dates document into the written answer, and I will provide the link to the transition or the conversion, excuse me, roadmap. It's all transition. So that you guys can, everyone can reference that. So that's found over in the answers now for everybody. So thank you.
That's
So the
great.
next question that we want to tackle is we are looking into using the alerts message system to communicate on requisitions with our buyers and end users. Will comments and attachments that are put into this feature be reportable at any level in the future, such as in current EVA, when you can run reports on comments added to the PR?
I'll take that one, Kim. Hey, Brandon. Yeah, I think the answer to that is going to be yes. And you phrased it correctly. Reportable at any point in the future. For you guys that aren't aware, and I think I've shown this to some groups, there is on every transaction, there's a messaging feature associated with that where you can do comments, attachments, all sorts of stuff through the messaging feature that attach themselves to the transaction. It's pretty cool. I've confirmed it's a data table. So that those messages, those attachments are stored in a data table. If something like that is stored in a data table and associated with a transaction, that means in theory, we would be able to report on it. But again, future is the key word. That type of reporting would not be available on day one of the transition, but certainly something that we could do going forward. Because again, it's the data is stored. I've got keys where it's associated with a transaction, associated with a user. So I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that. Just not on November 1st.
Thank you so much. So the next one's related to sourcing and contracting. If you have a solicitation that was entered into sourcing and contracting and a notice of intent has been posted, however, it was posted prior to July of 2022, will I be able to post the award notice in the new EVA manually? I mentioned the July date because I talked with Eva and it was stated that the status of the solicitation could not be changed to open due to the notice of award or intent to award was posted prior to July of 2022.
So your solicitation is not, let's chat this through one-on-one, because you wouldn't move your solicitation back to an open status if you had already posted an intent. And so I think the question is, once it's in an intent status, are those converting over? And can I make the award? And I reached out to our lead in that area. I'm waiting to hear back, but we'll definitely get you a follow-up answer for that, because I haven't tested that myself. So I want to, unless somebody else here has, that notice of intent convert and then can be updated. But let's verify that in our testing environment and get back to you on that one.
Great. So another receiving question, will the new system allow us to do both types of receiving, or is it up to the entity to determine this? We currently have central receiving, but it would be helpful to be able to receive items ourselves.
The short answer is both options are available. Central and what we call desktop receiving, both options are available. But again, that's up to your entity and how, a lot of people do central receiving from a security perspective, right? The person placing the order, receiving the items, and cutting the check are all separate. So that depends on the rules at your entity, but certainly desktop receiving and central receiving are options.
And I'm reading over the next one, which is policy related.
I can take that one.
Okay.
Because and Barb can stop me if I go the wrong direction with this, but the APS, so just a comment, the APS-PM states when we receive proposals or bids or paper responses, the vendor has to be registered at the time of closing. Certainly, heck yeah, and if you're executive branch and you fall under DPS purview, you're darn right. But remember, Eva has a lot of organizations that aren't under DPS purview and don't necessarily follow all our policies and procedures. So there are some different rules out there. So Did I get it?
I would say, Dolores, that this is one of those cases where we, when it makes sense to put policy into the tool, that's what we do, but it's not always the right thing to do, so.
I've been well schooled on that one by Barb Lehman, actually. So
So what's the anticipated volume of transactions in which Eva will be able to handle as agencies roll out access to the new platform to end users? Bring them on.
Yeah, what we're doing now. I don't think now proof is in the pudding. We feel like through our performance testing, and we have done several rounds of performance testing on the production environment, the environment that you're going to be using on November 1st. We have done performance testing against that environment and tested it with real users. And then there's it's a program that actually mimics people logging in and doing transactions and stuff. It's pretty cool. But we've had real users while that process is going on come in and actually hit the environment. We haven't noticed any performance issues. So we would assume the volume that we're doing now plus more, we should be able to handle that without any problems.
And if
Perfect.
you're talking about hypercare, help us help you complete the training, leverage the training environment now if you have access to it, and get comfy in that new system too.
So are the current requisitions have been integrated yeah, so hold on, let's get, we're gonna all read this one real quick and see if we can get a synopsis. I think there was some.
So I think this is all about
logging into the new UAT environment. I'm seeing several current requisitions. I logged in with my ID, but I only see one of my coworkers and none of the training requisitions. So I guess the question seems to be what's in the training environment
well, the training environment, if it's
and UAT.
truly, there's two environments. All of you have access to training. Some of you, integration agencies mostly, if you're doing a real-time integration with a financial system, have UAT access. UAT actually had some converted transactions go into it, but a snapshot, not a 2 years run, not the big, huge run, a little snapshot, I think it was like a month or two, just so you could see what converted transactions look like. So not every transaction that's going to be converting into the production environment on 11.1 was there. Training doesn't have anything. And the two environments aren't connected. If I do something in training, it doesn't go to UAT. So I hope I answered that. But again, those of you that have UAT access, you got a little snapshot of some transactions in there.
All right, so for the next one, someone's having an Eva training system access issue. They've tried with their password and they tried to reset their password and they never got that email. So who do they need to reach out to?
We kind
Their
of covered
agency security officer or their account executive.
Yeah, for
There-
Eva,
Depends at your
the Eva
organization.
training system.
Yeah, it depends on, the messages went out to Eva leads, to the procurement shop about the training access. I would go there first. If it's still a problem, you can route it up to us and we'll take care of it.
Yeah, someone asked that in the chat earlier too, and I think that's the same thing. Please run your inquiries through your procurement shop first, and they will escalate up to your account executive if there's continued issues. So.
And then the next question is that this individual, Michael, he has RFPs and intent posted and bids opened in sourcing and contracting. He can't figure out how to get them to open or close so that they can convert. 2 are from fiscal year 22. One is recent, downloaded everything, already paper responses, but any direction is appreciated.
So if they are in, all right, guys, Barb, am I wrong? Intent posted is a notice of intent to award. That is an award decision.
That is correct.
So you have made intent. I'm intending to award to somebody. We don't get to reopen those. There's some sort of evaluation is hopefully happened at that point. Bids opened. is also, you know, you've opened your bids. You probably want to go ahead and do your evaluation and wrap that up at this point. There's no getting them back to open or closed.
All right, and then the next question is, earlier it was stated there are approximately 2,000 Eva users. How many Eva vendors are there? And so
I can clear that up there. I don't know. I might have said 2,000 in the context of talking about training or something. There are actually 11,000 Eva users that we consider in the buying community, doing some sort of function on the government side where they're doing some sort of purchasing function, running a report, requisition, sourcing. Vendors, close to 200,000. Now, not all of them are active they're active. Not all of them are constantly interacting with the system. So it's a lot.
And I think that one of the helpful things that you all might not realize we have available, and so if you ever need stats, we have marketplace metrics. So that's something I'm going to go ahead and put over as a link in the chat, so that if you're interested in if you love data, like many of us do, I'm one of them, you might enjoy looking at that information. And they are there for the prior fiscal years as well. So then there was last question came circled back. They're able to log in and do test orders, but I have no clue how to find it. And you want to use, they're asking about UAT, but you're wanting to do that in training, Rachel. So you would have gotten training access, your DPS account executive, and you want to circle back with that individual, or if you have a training lead at your entity. Is that accurate, my panel folks?
That seems fair to me, yes.
And then another question came in. So many vendors do not use the purchase card feature to get things paid for quickly. I only have one vendor that can see my card information and use it. No one else. What can I tell my vendors to make this happen more often? They often tell me that they have no idea how to do it.
So this is system agnostic. You can be on the existing platform and you can be on the new platform. So on November 1st, you're going to have the same problem you're having on October 13th. So where the vendors in all cases pull the P-card information from is they need to log in to their account and pull up the order, and then the P-card information is there and they can decrypt it and pull the P-card information. I think it's going to be easier to do that in the new environment. Not to get into too many details about the existing environment because it's going to be gone in a few weeks and who cares. In the new environment that we're getting ready to move to, suppliers will have one login to get to everything they need to do. Orders, responses, maintaining their account, one login, the whole 9 yards. So what you're going to want to tell your vendors, let's talk about solutioning this in the new environment. Hey, I sent you a P-card order. Why are you sending me an invoice? Go in and pull the P-card. They need to log into their Eva account. There's an orders tab. You hit orders.
Acknowledging their orders.
Acknowledge orders. And on that order, there's a little P-card section. They can pull it. The card decrypts and they can run the card.
And then, of course, we'll be there to help and support if they run into any issues.
Certainly.
But everything will be accessible from their supplier account starting November 1st.
Correct.
And they'll be able to print.
Correct.
All right. So
and I see something in the chat that came up from Nasandra. She said, no more Ariba. Yes.
That's right.
No, it's gone.
That's right.
One account, one place to go.
Just to let you all, make you all aware, there is a communication that will be going out to our suppliers who receive their orders electronic, and that's their selection, so that they're made aware that Ariba will be going or won't be their go-to, and how they'll be accessing it in the new system. And then we intend to also communicate out to all our suppliers that have gotten orders, just to spread the good news, because that is probably the single best enhancement in my point of view, and for a lot of them. And then anyone who is importing their orders, we've already been working with them for a while to make sure that they have everything they need set up from that perspective. But everything will be located for our suppliers right directly from their account. And if anybody wants to sit in, we're doing one final platform preview for our suppliers. The sign up is off of the Eva outreach page on our calendar. And the last one is Tuesday of next week, the 18th. It's from 10 to 11. We'll also be posting a playback of the final version for our suppliers or anyone else who wants to see it. And it just gives them a nice little overview of what they can expect. This is the equivalent of a VILT session for our suppliers, because there's so many of them. All right, well, lots of great questions. Thank you guys so much for asking and participating. Thank you also. We all oftentimes get in customer service mode where we only hear the complaints and the negative, and we're only putting out fires. So I just want to personally say thank you for some of the comments that we got that were positive. It really helps our team know that even though there's so much going on and it's change, and everybody is typically a little about change. Remember, like the fight, flight, or freeze. How are we going to react day one? So this brings me back to my opening. See how I segue back? So only treats, not tricks, November 1st. That's what I'm going to say. So, and thank you to our panelists. We're going to go ahead and conclude today's buyer user group, the last one before we transition. Look for the playback to be shared out. The PowerPoint that Shane shared will also be posted to the transition newsroom, and we will do our best to make sure we get the written responses for our Q&A downloaded, completed, and then added to the transition newsroom as well. Thank you guys so much, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I'm thinking it's Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day.